When you are out getting punky wood, there's good ways to tell whether it's something that will work in your smoker or not. First off, what you want is to get something that's almost light. It's gotta, you gotta pick it up and almost be amazed that something that large could be that light and not have anything really to it. One way that I can tell is if you can look at it and see that there have been little insects and things crawling through it already, as can be seen here. So that is a real good indication that things have gotten pretty light. Also, I take a hatchet with me normally to break these off, and you can hit on it. And if it's punky all the way through, you'll hit it, and it's a very dull thud. Just to demonstrate this board, if I hit it, you can hear that that's very solid. Again, this. Once you get this back, what I will typically do is put this out in my greenhouse and allow it to dry. And once it's good and dry, then you can take the hatchet again and crunch it up into small pieces that'll fit in your smoker. And this is great smoker fuel. Alright, I'm out here loading my smoker using some of this old punk that's already been dried and cured, and using some pine needles that I gathered from one of the hive sites that I go to. So another good way to tell that stuff is good and dry if it's punky wood is that you should be able to rip it apart by hand. And as you can see, this is all nice and crumbly. And what I do is I place that in the smoker with some pine needles. I try to use about 2/3 of this punky wood and about 1/3 of the pine needles, because pine needles want to go up in smoke relatively quickly. So in here in the garage, this is kind of messy, but when I'm at the hive sites, I don't worry about it too much. I normally break this stuff over top of this bucket, and then that way all the fine material will fall down in there. Now there will be some times where you'll have to take a piece, you'll have to use your hatchet, because sometimes some of this will stick together, but it's best if you can just rip it apart by hand like so. So I break that into small enough pieces that I can get it in the smoker. And as you can see here, that is pretty full. I'm going to come back here and I'm going to demonstrate lighting this and show you how easy it is, if you're out of the wind, to light using this doty punky wood, and show you why you don't need to be out buying this stuff. I have stuffed this smoker, which happens to be on a metal bucket, so I don't start any fires. I've stuffed it full with punky wood and some pine needles, and I'm going to show you just how easily this thing starts. Now, one thing that I like about this punky wood is that it will smolder for hours and hours. In fact, you got to kind of be careful. Whenever I try to shut this down, I typically will stuff in this cork into the end, and it will still smolder like that for, I mean, at least an hour, maybe two sometimes, just getting enough air. So I'm going to show you how easily this thing lights. And again, there's punky wood in here and some old dried pine needles. This is one match. The pine needles that are at the top kind of go up quickly, and I will go around and light several in several places. And I'll begin giving it just a little bit of air. is I am wanting to... Now typically what I'll do is while this is burning and getting started, I'll go ahead and put on my beekeeping equipment and let this go ahead and build up just a little bit. And at that point, I will get a hive tool. Since I'm in the garage right now, I don't have a hive tool. I use this putty knife. But once this thing begins to go, and as you can see, it's flaming pretty well. Then once you put the lid on it, that will go out. And you can see that a good amount of smoke is coming out. Sometimes if I'm at the hive site, I'll grab a handful of grass and go ahead and just put that grass over top of it to keep any small particles from coming out when you blow your smoke. But you can see here, that is a nice amount of smoke, and it lit quickly, and this thing will stay lit for hours and hours. All you got to do is continue adding pine needles and wood at a ratio of about 2/3 wood, 1/3 pine needles. It's a good smelling smoke. It's relatively cool, and the longer you let this smolder, the cooler that'll get. This is a little bit hot right now because I just started the fire. But as you can see, there's no real open flame in there. It's just smoke coming out. So don't buy smoker fuel, and don't fret about starting a smoker or lighting a smoker, because it's super easy and this thing will stay lit and you don't have to worry about it going out. Now I'm gonna go ahead and place this cork in there. My cork here is getting old. And you can see a little bit of this will still get out, so typically I'll put the cork in it and lay it on its side like so. And even like that, it will continue to smolder for a long period of time. So you want to make sure you can put this in some type of a steel container if you're going to be putting it in a vehicle or something like that, because this will remain hot and on fire for a long period of time. And you don't want any ashes or anything rolling out of the bottom vent and catching anything on fire. So make sure this is in a bucket or something steel, some type of steel tray or pan, and that'll go out like that. And when you go to light it the next time, if there's little pieces of biochar in there, they will even light faster than what the Doty wood does.